Hey guys, Mr. Ridgway here. So today is going to be our first experiment in an e-learning day, and that's again one of these days. It's going to be a snow day if we ever have one. And what we're going to do is actually now apply this to a lesson that we would normally do during class. In this case, we're going to wrap up this unit with the Inca Empire, and we're going to treat this as a day as if I wasn't there. So, what this video is designed to do is to help you, not really to go through the mini lesson and then help you explain some of the activities. It's not going to give you the answers for those activities necessarily, but it's designed to kind of help you kind of go through this experience and help kind of understand, especially the mini lesson and some other parts that tend to work a little bit better as if I were in person. So, couple things to note here. If at any time you have questions about stuff that I'm talking about, please don't hesitate to contact me or email me, or just, however, get a hold of me, stop me, those kind of things. And also, you can pause this video and rewatch it as many times as you would like, whatever can help you in the learning process itself. Okay? With all that being said, what we're going to do here is we are going to take you through the lesson. First things first, you need to complete the class time warm-up, and you do that just by looking at this quote here and then clicking on your particular block. Once you've done that, you can keep going. So, our objectives here today, and the ones that we're going to try to kind of accomplish and achieve, is that we are going to be looking at how we get the Incan civilization, how they develop, and then lastly, our big objective for this entire unit has been to compare and contrast the Inca Empire. So first things first, we're going to jump into the mini lesson and again talk about the Inca because we have to do that before anything else. So let's talk about the incredible Inca. Go ahead, get down these essential questions. Again, we're going to be looking at geography and how it influences how the Incan civilization is going to develop. And then also, since we are going to be doing compare-contrasting later, we're going to look at some traits that these civilizations, the Maya, the Aztec, and the Inca, are all going to have shared in common. Okay, so let's do an overview on the Inca first, just before anything else. The Inca are going to be unlike anything that we've talked about with the Maya or the Aztec so far. Again, the Maya were located on that Yucatan Peninsula, and then the Aztec were located in present-day Mexico. The Inca, though, are in South America, and you can see they're a very, very vertically long empire, which is going to also present some demands for them that they're going to have to kind of address and challenge and keep up with. But if you look at the dates, okay, the Inca, being down here in South America, they did have a capital city. They are an empire. Their empire's name, again, is the Inca Empire, but their capital city's name is Cuzco. Okay, we are later going to look at a city called Machu Picchu, which is very, very famous, but it's not their capital. The ending date here should look a little bit odd if you've been paying attention to details in class, because that's about the exact same time that the Aztecs get wiped out. And that is because just like the Aztecs, they're also going to get wiped out by the Spanish. Now, the Inca, some brief highlights here. Being such a long empire is one definite thing we need to know about them. The other is that they were especially known as great road builders, and they had over 14,000 miles of roads that stretched the expanse of their empire all the way from Ecuador down to the bottom of Chile, or at least present day, right? 10 million people, so it's anywhere from maybe a little bit over double the size of the Aztecs, and they are a dynasty, just kind of like the dynasties in China. So they are family-based, and their emperor's name is the Sapa Inca, which literally just means emperor. All right. Now, the geography of the Inca is especially distinctive. If you look at this elevation map down here, you can see that they've got an extreme mountain range that is very, very high. It's called the Andes, and the Inca decided they're going to actually make the empire in the middle of this. Okay, again, their empire stretches down kind of that western half of South America. And this puts some severe demands on them for not only like how they're going to grow crops, but also then how they're going to keep a unified empire. And so the Inca come up with two very distinctive, and actually many, many distinctive answers for this. For the farming, they develop a technique called terrace farming. So Terrace, terrace farming. And what that is basically taking, like an actual mountainside, and you cut steps into it. And so you end up taking a mountain that's very kind of like sloped and gradual, and you kind of get a more like kind of like cut kind of shape to it. And that allows you to grow crops on those flat surfaces. Again, otherwise you cannot grow things on an inclined slope like that. to address the unity parts of the empire, because again, like it would be really easy for an empire like this to get broken up and separated, especially with the Andes Mountains and being so vertically long, is that they actually cut, huge amounts of roads into the Inca Empire, and they build them and construct them. And they also mandate that every person in the Inca Empire learn the Incan language. So, with that, that's kind of talking about some of the influences of geography. Let's look at an actually really good example of this. So this is Machu Picchu. Very, very well known, probably one of the most famous of all Incan cities. Again, it's not their capital city. It's just really, really well known. It's up in the height of the Andes Mountains. If you click there where it says 3D Tour, there's some really, really cool stuff for you here. Okay. You can do it in either English or Spanish. And what it does, like an interactive experience of looking around at this place. And it's awesome. Really good job of kind of highlighting what this place looks like. So you can see it's immensely high up in the Andes. There's some little white dots. Anything that you see like dots are kind of blinking, you can go and interact with and check out. And you can see terrace farming. You can see these structures that have all been built by the Inca. It's very, very impressive. And just the sheer amount of work that this would have taken is daunting and incredible. So once you're done kind of checking that out, you can close out of it. You won't need it anymore. And we can head back to our presentation. Now let's talk a little bit more in depth about the Incan government and its society, because these are very interesting. The Sapa Inca, again, who's the emperor of the Inca, he believed himself to be the son of the sun. So they did have a sun god, and in fact, they are polytheistic. But how exactly the Incan emperor was descended from the sun, I don't know. Okay, again, you can kind of figure out the biology of that and how that works. But the fact that both the Maya, the Aztec, and the Inca all placed as pretty much number one important as their deity being linked to the sun is something that they all did have in common. The Sapa Inca, though, is very, very powerful. He, for example, was in charge of all religious and military activities, and the Incan Empire had a very, very strong and very organized military. But he was also in charge of Mita, and if you don't remember what Mita was, last block we kind of mentioned it at the end of our homework, and that is every once in a while, for about a year, every male Incan in society had to do mandatory labor that they just had to donate. And that's how they got all of these massive amounts of roads and building projects such as Machu Picchu actually completed. The other thing that's kind of notable about the Sapa Inca that you'll want to know is that the Inca generally were obsessed with having purity. And so, for example, like they would not allow the Sapa's Inca spit to touch the ground or his poop to touch the ground. It all had to be like ceremoniously burned and like ritually like cleansed and taken care of. But even this extended to the idea of their blood. So what Incan emperors eventually started to do was they kind of taking this purity thing kind of to the next level is if you want to make sure that you are by far the person who is most rightfully supposed to take the throne according to your blood, the best way to make sure that your kids have the purest blood possible is to marry your own family. And so most emperors, most Sapa Inca married their own sisters and then scootily poop with them, had kids, and then those kids, again, would be of completely pure blood. Typically, then, what would happen is then when one of the brothers, one of those sons would take over, he would then kill all of his brothers and then marry all of his sisters, again, to kind of eliminate his competition and to carry on that purity of blood level. So it's a very kind of it kind of makes like genetic sense, like in terms of like like politics and those kind of things. But we know from like a descendancy and like lineage and looking at like DNA and what like the damage that chromosomes can happen from inbreeding, it doesn't make a lot of that kind of sense. So incest, it's a great time. With the Inca, they also had no conception of personal property. So there was no such thing as like, that's my iPhone, it's everyone's iPhone, or that's my underwear. No, it's our underwear. And so it kind of takes a new kind of interesting twist on the idea of personal ownership of property, which a lot of Americans really like to hold on to. Record keeping and writing. The Incans didn't have a writing system in the sense of the idea like that you think of like with an alphabet, or the idea of like pictograph kind of writings like the Aztecs or the Mayans. They had a different kind of writing system. They used something called quipu, and you can actually see them right here. They're knotted colored strings, and this is how they kept track of records. Now, did the Incas have a writing system? I don't know. It kind of depends on how you want to define it. I think you could argue it either way, but in terms of like actually being able to keep like a history, of things written down, some of that is a lot easier to track with quipu than others. So for example, like keeping track of stories, probably not so much, but keeping track of like how much was harvested or collected in taxes, that was probably doable. So again, it's kind of a complicated look at that. Social structure wise, not a surprise. They're also in a pyramid shape, just like the Maya and the Aztec. Notice how much power, though, the sister wife of the Sapa Inca has, and she can actually act as the emperor if he's otherwise indisposed. But the emperor, again, does have absolute power, descendant of the sun god. And there's lots of things that we could go into detail about the different kind of nobles and priests and other kind of things that are here. So yeah, there's the basic structure of Incan society. To finish off the lesson, I just put in here a couple other things about Incan life that are interesting. For me, it's some of the actual crops and things that they grew. So they had, for example, corns, beans, potatoes, squash, peanuts, avocados, like lots of crops that we still consume today. The Incas actually cultivated. One that's interesting, and this is the start of this actually, is coca. Now, if that looks like a drug, that is because that is the descendant of cocaine, and they would take coca, eventually refine it, and that's how we get that modern day drug. But they used it for like pain and thirst and kind of like those kind of hunger kind of a relief. So other than that, there's again the quipu. We could talk about mummification too, is another one. If you want to get some really scary pictures of how good the Inca were at mummification, you can Google Incan mummies, and they were really, really good at that as well. So cool. To end the mini lesson, just do a quick 3-minute evaluation. Go through those letters of CPR swag, which you should know, and check mark off, are they a civilization? Again, if you don't know the letters, look back at previous lessons. Know those letters of CPR swag because they're really, really important. All right, and then we're done with the mini lesson. From this point on, okay, there's 2 activities that we have to do. Okay, the first is a vocab matrix. We'll get to that here in a moment. Okay, and then the other one is going to be that gigantic compare, contrast, 3-way Venn diagram. Before we get to either one of those, I want you to please finish up that chart that had the Maya, the Aztec, and then the Inca, because now we can do the Inca column of that graphic organizer. You stored it in your drive, probably, or I told you to bookmark it. So go ahead, complete that. Okay, and when you're done, you can go on with me and we can check out the vocab matrix and how you'll do that. Okay, what I have done here is I've taken the vocab matrix from this lesson and I've completely digitized it. So you will actually do a vocab puzzle online. Okay, to do it isn't too hard. You just click right here for the online edition. Okay, and I've put extra directions over here on the left, including a GIF about how you, move the actual pieces around. Okay. And it's pretty straightforward. So you can see we've got the outline of what the matrix is going to kind of look like. And then all around the board here, you can kind of see some over here as well as some up here. I've put the actual pieces. Okay, so you need to move these and drag and drop them into the right location. When you find a match, okay, so for example, like a form of farming practiced by the Mayans, I know that that's slash and burn. So I have to actually look around for that piece, and I'm going to go ahead, there it is over here, okay? So what you need to do is you may have to rotate the pieces around here to actually get them to fit. To rotate pieces, it's this little button right here, this little blue dot, and you're just going to click and rotate and twist it, and then voila, we have a match. Now, to make life easier for you, and I make sure I mention this as a GIF in the directions, you hold shift and you click both of these pieces and it'll select both of them, right click, and then click group. And now these pieces will stay together. You can even now rotate them as a group to meet and match up with other ones. in case you find other matches that bridge onto this piece. Okay? But this is designed to fit exactly into this puzzle, and that's how I will solve the puzzle. I'll just kind of build it just like we did in class. Again, if I found another piece like capital of the Incan Empire, I would click another piece and add that into the group just by, again, shift-clicking and then right-clicking and hit group. So solve the puzzle. When you think you've got it right, okay, you go back here to the key. You can check it, and then the homework is right here. Okay, again, if you've never done a vocab homework or matrix online and done it this way, you want to make sure that when you make a copy of it and you want to do your pictures, it's really, really simple. You type the definitions out just like you normally would, but all that's going to happen here is when you go to picture, you're going to go up here to this box that says insert and go to image and then add in a picture from the internet or from the web. So search the web, and I'm going to go over here and I can search in any kind of image that I want to and drop it in there. You just want to make sure that your cursor is clicked inside the box so that it drops into the right location. Alrighty? When you are done with this, please turn it into today's Canvas lesson. That is the first of 2 homework assignments that you need to do. Okay? So, awesome, sweet, we're done with that. Again, please do not forget to turn it into this Canvas lesson. The last thing is what we've been talking about this entire unit, and we are going to finish and do a 3-part Venn diagram between the Maya, the Aztec, and the Inca. Okay, so click right here, grab a digital copy, okay, and again, you're going to turn this in on today's Canvas lesson. Okay, and here's the directions. So fill in the Venn diagram, including the bullets at the bottom, with at least 3 characteristics in each of the 7 areas. To edit the diagram, simply double-click it. Your answers should be non-obvious and demonstrate use of critical thinking. Okay, so for example, okay, we can see here we got the Inca, the Aztec, and the Maya. All right, I double-click on the drawing to go and open it up, and then from there, okay, I just type in, for example, the Sapa Inca. Okay, and I could say again, son of sun. That's something distinctive that doesn't apply to anybody else. All right. Once you have, okay, got all of this done, again, I just double click to replace these lines with whatever information I want. Okay, that completes the first part of the Venn diagram. The really, really important part to do with this Venn diagram are these inner 4 areas right here. You say it says M and I, all, I and A, M and A. And those are where you're, for example, comparing the Maya and the Inca, or the Inca and the Aztec, or the Maya and the Aztec. And where you're going to write, because there's not much room right there, is you are going to write down here in these bullets. And what I've done is I've put the exact same letters like they match above. So the Maya and the Inca, what's something that they have in common? You'll put it right there in that bullet. Please, please, please do not forget to do these bullets down at the bottom. Arguably, they're more important than actually filling out the lines that are here inside this Venn diagram. There's also a section for all of them. What's something that all 3 early Native American civilizations shared in common? The key that I want to emphasize to you with this is please do not give obvious answers. Use some critical thinking. Don't say something like, for all of them are located on Earth. Yeah, we know that. Right? You need to go beyond the obvious and think about some things like maybe there was something about farming or government, or maybe you could look at those letters of CPR swag for some ideas that you could compare, contrast with. Okay? So with that, that's really the end of this document. You should eventually have 21 bullets that are done. Okay? When you are finished with it, you're going to go back to that Canvas lesson and you're going to turn it in. Okay? And that will complete the second bit of homework for today's digital e-learning lesson. Again, please don't hesitate to comment or send me questions or things that you're confused on, either with text messages or emails or anything like that. Remind, it's really, really important that you reach out if you need assistance. Okay, so with that, that's the end of my explanation video here. Good luck, and I look forward to seeing your work soon. Bye-bye.